In our ever-changing world, every inch of space is valuable. When a place outlives its original use, it's usually transformed into something new, something grand. Well, but not always. Some places that once buzzed with life now sit completely deserted. These forgotten corners of the world hold powerful stories. And in this video, we're going to look at 15 of the most incredible and amazing abandoned places that prove that not everything is meant to last forever. Let's start off with number 15, Krogan. Krogan might not get as much attention as other ancient Irish sites like Newgrange or Carrowmore Megalithic Cemetery, but it should. Spread across 2.5 square miles near Tulsk, it holds over 240 archaeological features, some dating back 5,500 years. You'll find Neolithic tombs, Bronze Age burial mounds, and monumental Iron Age earthworks like the Mucklags and the central Krogan mound. But what sets it apart is its mythology. According to legend, Krogan was the seat of Queen Meb, the fierce warrior queen of Connacht. The nearby cave of Owi Nagat, the Cave of the Cats, is believed to be a gateway to the underworld and the origin of Samhain, the ancient festival that later became Halloween. There's history here, yes, but also lore, story, and shadow. Some parts seem more dreamlike than real, but that's Ireland for you, where archaeology and myth are always dancing together. Krogan isn't just ancient, it's alive in memory and mystery, still holding on to secrets buried in the soil. Number Kados, Corodador Island. As of now, nobody lives on Corodador Island anymore. It belongs to Cavite City, but the only thing it has left are scars, concrete ones, metal ones, the kind you don't just pave over. During the World War II time, this place wasn't just a dot on the map, it was the stronghold. The national government ran operations from here after the Japanese invaded in 1941, they couldn't hold it. The island fell in 42, and it took brutal, bloody effort to take it back in 1945. Since then, it has been left to rot. The lighthouse still stands, built in 1853, older than most nations. The bombed-out battery buildings, a wrecked theater, and even an abandoned swimming pool are all still there. Silent reminders of the people who lived, fought, and died here. It's not just some tropical ruin. This was once the beating heart of resistance. Today it's a national war memorial, but honestly, it feels more like a graveyard that no one talks about enough. No one comes to stay. They come to remember and then they leave. Number Dresin Fortress. Well, hiking wasn't just a stop on the Silk Road as many people know, it was the fortress everyone wanted to control like a only mine. Built around 1032, this place was crucial for traders moving through the Gansu corridor. It had thick desert walls, its own culture, and for a while its own power. Then came Cr Genghis Khan. He took the fortress in 1226, but unlike most places he flattened, hiking kept running. Even Marco Polo passed through, saying it felt like nowhere else. But empires change. The Yuan dynasty kept it alive until 1368. Then it slipped out of memory. Sand swallowed it piece by piece. An early 1900s dig found paper money, actual banknotes, still tucked in the ruins. That's how much this place once mattered. Today, hiking is a sun-beaten skeleton in the middle of nowhere. But it's still standing. The wind hits it different. It's quiet but not gone. You feel like it's waiting. Not for tourists, not for headlines, just for someone to remember it was never meant to disappear without a story. Number 12. Qumran. Qumran sits quietly in the west bank of Palestine, a place with layers of sacred history and silence. Known most for the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was first settled more than 2,000 years ago by the Essenes, a monastic Jewish sect. At its peak, the community likely numbered just a couple of hundred. They lived a secluded life until the Roman conquest in the 1st century swept them away. But Qumran remained, quietly preserving its story beneath the arid desert air. In 1947, Bedouin shepherds stumbled upon the first scrolls inside clay jars hidden in a cave. Between then and 1956, over 20 full scrolls and some 16,000 fragments were found, some religious, others surprisingly secular. The harsh climate helped preserve their homes too. Kitchens, watchtowers, communal halls, and water systems are still intact. It's eerie how well time has treated these ruins, while the people who built them were swept away so long ago. Qumran is a relic not just of words, but of the way those words were once lived. And no one on this earth has the guts to visit this palace. And we don't have to go deeper. Everyone knows about Palestine. Number 11. Mina de São Domingos. Mina de São Domingos is located in Portugal's Alentejo region, and it looks like a crime scene. Rusted buildings, broken earth, and pools of water stained blood red. That's not metaphor, it's acid runoff, the byproduct of a place that spent decades chewing up copper and sulfur. Mining started here way back in Roman times, but it was the 19th century British who really tore it open. They didn't just dig, they built a full-on town beside it. Houses, a church, even a damn leisure center. People lived here, families grew here, and a lot of them got sick here too. Exposed daily to poison in the ground and air. When the mine ran dry in the 60s, everyone left, just like that. Now it's a shell, a village without voices, water that could burn your skin. People come now for the photos, for the shock, for the strange beauty, but this place isn't art. It's what happens when greed digs too deep and leaves the mess for someone else to stare at. Number 10. Birm Necropolis. Beit Shirim is no ordinary cemetery. Located in Kiryat Tivan, Israel, this ancient necropolis is all that's left of a once thriving Jewish city. When the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in 70 CE, the Sanhedrin, well, it's Judaism's supreme court, relocated here. Over 30 burial caves were cut directly into the limestone hills. Among the thousands laid to rest here is Rabbi Judah the Prince, the man who compiled the Mishnah, a cornerstone of Jewish law. Instead of choosing the Mount of Olives, the traditional burial site, he chose Beit Shirim, and others followed. What stands out, oddly enough, is how this sacred site contradicts one of the Torah's commandments, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image." And yet the tombs are filled with carvings, lions, birds, and mythological figures. The site remained active well into the Islamic period, though it was renamed Sheikh Ibri. Beit Shirim speaks of defiance, reverence, and a deep spiritual longing carved into stone. And it is a kind of spooky, let's be real, isn't it? Number 9. Tennayau Telanapla Pyramids. Overshadowed by bigger names like Teotihuacan, the pyramids at Tennayau and Telanapla rarely make the tourist brochures, but they should, and we're not promoting anything. These Aztec-era marvels were once guarded by stone serpents, fierce and stoic, lining the pyramid bases. Tennayau was founded by the Chichimecas under their leader Xolotl, and later abandoned when the capital moved to Texcoco. That shift left Tennayau vulnerable. By the 12th century, it was attacked by rival tribes, sparking a chain of events that helped shape what we now call the Aztec civilization. The pyramids likely came later, inspired by structures in the Toltec city of Tula. When the Spanish arrived in 1519, they dubbed the site El Pueblo de las Serpientes, the town of the serpents. That poetic admiration didn't stop them from burning it down. The place was forgotten for centuries until archaeologists rediscovered it in the 1920s. Today, the pyramid stands as both a warning and a whisper of a culture that refused to be erased. Number 8. Pyramid of the Nitches. The Pyramid of the Nitches doesn't shout like Lady Gaga. But honestly, it doesn't need to. Sitting in the ruins of El Tajin, it does something better. It stares you down. Built somewhere between the 9th and 12th centuries, this 7-level stone structure has exactly 365 niches carved into its walls. No accidents here. This was a calendar, a temple, and a power move all in one. Historians figure it marked days or rituals, maybe both. El Tajin thrived in that strange gap between the fall of Teotihuacan and the rise of the Aztecs, and this pyramid is what's left of their peak. No one knows exactly who on earth built it, but most credit the ancestors of the Teutonic. They're still around today, living nearby, telling stories that stretch back centuries. The structure's clean symmetry, the silence around it, the sense that every stone was placed with intent, it all adds up to something bigger than a ruin. It doesn't need guards or glass cases. It just sits there, alive in its own way, waiting for anyone with eyes sharp enough to really see it. Number 7. Sarajevo Olympic Ruins. Sarajevo threw everything into the 1984 Winter Olympics. The city built stadiums, tracks, pavilions, structures meant to showcase pride, progress, and unity. For a moment, it worked. But only a few years later, civil war shattered it all. The Olympic bobsled track, it became a sniper's hideout. The arena, a site for executions. The war left holes in everything: walls, roads, people, and the ruins are still there. Bullet-ridden, spray-painted, overgrown. Sarajevo's Olympic legacy didn't fade, it was ripped apart and left for dead. Some of the Olympic rings still cling to the concrete, barely visible under layers of dust and moss. What was once a global celebration became a ghost of hope lost in war. Tourists still come, cameras in hand, to walk through what's left. But you don't need a tour guide to feel the weight. These ruins aren't just abandoned, they're raw. A monument to something that was supposed to unify the world and instead watched it fall apart. Number 6. Fort Drum. This place doesn't look like an island. It looks like someone dropped a battleship in Manila Bay and forgot about it. After the Spanish-American War, the U.S. flattened El Frel Island, poured in concrete, and built a sea fortress with gun turrets, armor plating, and no room for error. It was all muscle, no frills. The Japanese took it briefly during WWI, but when the Americans came back in '45, they didn't play nice. They pumped it full of gasoline and lit it up. Burned everything. It never got repaired. It just stayed. Now it sits there, scorched, silent, and brutal. There is no flag or plaque. Just steel bones and empty corridors. It looks like it's still waiting for orders that'll never come. From the shore, it's eerie. Up close, it's grim. This isn't a relic. They didn't make it to be admired. It was built to kill, then abandoned like a tool nobody needed anymore. And yet, it's still there, refusing to sink, refusing to be forgotten, even if everyone else already has. Number 5. Petrovagora Monument. Petrovagora wasn't built to be forgotten. When Vojan Bakic designed it in 1981, it was meant to honor the resistance fighters and civilians who died fighting fascism in World War II. And it was beautiful. Aluminum panels shimmering over a hillside, reflecting the forest like a mirror. Underneath, a system of old wartime tunnels that once served as field hospitals and hideouts, but the whole thing was built without permission. No paperwork, no approval, just passion. And that sealed its fate. Once Yugoslavia broke apart, nobody claimed it. Thieves stripped the metal. The government turned a blind eye. Now it's a hollow shell. Steel ribs exposed, graffiti crawling over the walls, and silence where there should have been respect. Bakic wanted to build something eternal. Instead, he built a monument the state never protected, and the world mostly forgot. It should have been preserved. Instead, it's a warning about what happens when memory is left to rust. You don't just lose art, you lose the reason it existed. All right, now let's talk about Number 4. Valley of the Mills. You wouldn't expect to find ruins in the middle of a jungle valley just minutes from modern Sorrento, but that's exactly where the Valley of the Mills sits. This place once thrived in the 13th century, lined with flour mills, and a sawmill powered by natural water flows through the cliffs. It was a smart setup, hidden away but efficient. Then industry changed. Demand shifted and the mills slowly fell silent. By the 1940s, it was all shut down. No demolition, no repurposing, just abandonment. And nature didn't wait around. Moss, ivy, roots, everything moved in fast. Today, what's left of the mills barely peeks out beneath layers of green. The stonework is cracked, leaning, overtaken. You can't walk through the ruins anymore, too risky, but the view from above feels unreal, like someone hit pause on a world that got swallowed whole. This isn't your typical ruin with walls and signs. It's a quiet reminder that when nature wants something back, she doesn't ask twice. Number 3. Bluey East 2. Well, this wasn't a city. In fact, T wasn't even a town. It was just a plan, hastily built, brutally cold, and toxic as hell. Bluey East 2 was a U.S. military base set up in 1941, slapped onto Greenland's frozen coast during World War II. Once the war wrapped up, the soldiers went home, but the mess stayed. Thousands of rusted barrels still dot the land. Locals call them American flowers because they're everywhere, bright orange like marigolds. Only thing is, they're filled with chemical waste. The buildings, falling apart full of asbestos. The vehicles, rotting into the tundra. And somewhere under all that, they say, are tons of unexploded dynamite. Denmark started cleanup in 2019, decades too late and way underfunded. It's a disaster site pretending to be forgotten. You don't need a sign to know humans were here. The land's been punched and left to bruise. And even now, the Arctic won't let it heal. Bluey East 2 isn't abandoned. It's still telling the same story. It just doesn't bother raising its voice anymore. Number 2. Calico. Calico came up fast and fell even faster. In the 1880s, this desert town was a magnet for silver hunters chasing the American dream. Within a few short years, over 500 mines were running around the clock. It was loud, dusty, and full of promise. At its peak, 3,500 people called it home. Merchants, miners, wanderers, all chasing silver dollars. But when silver prices tanked just over a decade later, the entire economy collapsed. Calico emptied out almost overnight. For decades, it just sat there. Shacks baking in the sun, dust filling empty saloons. In the 1950s, Walter Knott stepped in, the same guy who built Knott's Berry Farm. He restored what he could, turning Calico into a hybrid ghost town and outdoor museum. It still looks and feels like it did in the 1800s, boards creaking, old minecarts sitting crooked on broken tracks. It's not haunted, it's just honest. A town built on silver, abandoned by time, now kept alive by people who want to remember how fast fortunes used to change. Number 1. Deception Island. Despite its name, Deception Island isn't trying to trick anyone, it's just super dangerously unpredictable. This horseshoe-shaped landmass in Antarctica is actually the caldera of an active volcano. Once home to bustling whaling stations and international research outposts, it's now silent, with collapsing buildings and ash-filled remnants. Both Chilean and Norwegian whalers operated here, followed by scientists from around the globe. But 2 volcanic eruptions in the 1960s blanketed everything, airfields, hangars, labs, in ash and forced everyone out. Ironically, it's still one of Antarctica's safest harbors, thanks to its unique shape that shields ships from brutal storms. Hardy tourists visit for the geothermal hot springs, but it's no holiday resort. Aside from researchers and the occasional cruise, its primary inhabitants are now tens of thousands of chin-strap penguins. Deception Island once held the world's interest in science, survival, and industry. Now it's just quiet, smoldering, and haunting. Its story isn't over. It's just waiting for the next eruption to write the next chapter. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.